Guys, let's start economic indicators now. 6.1, I'm going to teach you consumer price index. Highly tested area in your exams, guys. An index of prices of goods and services typically purchased by urban consumers, compiled and published monthly by the government, provides a relatively accurate indication of average price level of products in an economy. Weightings are based upon the importance of the item in average expenditure. The greater the proportion spent on an item, the higher the weighting. First year with which the price of subsequent years are compared, percentage change in annual CPI is known as inflation rate. So now let me explain you what is CPI in simple terms, guys. It is about the money a person spends per day-to-day household. So when a person spends from his income for day-to-day household, he will categorize his income in the certain part. Now when we move on to this Excel sheet, I can explain you in a very easy manner. You might see here. A man can earn $1,000 for a month, for example, and if he is going to spend this $1,000 for his health, for his food, for his clothing, for his entertainment. I'm going to take four bases, guys, but there will be high bases than this. Drinks and all those things you can take. Now, in $1,000, if I spend 200 for health, 400 for food, 100 for clothes, and how much is my balance? 100 for yeah, 100, 200, 600, 800. So the balance I save it. So I will take this as weighting. So if I take as weighting, if I take 1000 as 1 over 10, I will take as weighting 1 over 10. This is 2 over 10. This has 4. I'm sorry, that's small. I will take it as 2 over 10. I will take it as 4 over 10. If I'm taking 1000 as 10, guys, if I'm taking 100, I'll take 1 over 10. So I'm spending the same 1 over 10 here also. Then I'm spending 2 over 10 on the same. So this is about constructing a way of how much I spend in my entire income. What I earn is represented through consumer price index. So consumer price index speaks about it speaks about how much I'm actually spending on the income what I have earned by giving a basket level of amounts of money what I have spent actually on the money I have earned. So let me move on to the content again, guys, to give you a clear indication. Consumer price index says that it is an index price of goods and services typically purchased by urban consumers, compiled and published monthly by the government, provides a relatively accurate indication of economic price levels of products in the economy. So it will say how much is the price of a house rent. It will say how much is the price of food. The government will do a statistic and give a person will spend this much of income, particularly on $1,000 this month. So having an estimation how much consumers spend in the particular country for the entire nation, they will take a base year when they calculate CPI. Why is that they take a base year? Now see here, the greater the proportion spent on an item, the higher the weighting. So if I see here in which I'm spending more in food. So weighting in food is high in CPI. That's what you need to understand. So when we move on to the content, it says that your inflation rate percentage change in annual CPI, how much your inflation has changed. Whenever you take a base year, they will give you in exams what is the base year. So weighted average price in year X and the particular year's price also they will give. So that price divided by the base year's price you will divide and into 100 if you calculate you will get the CPI. Again, they will not ask you to make the weighting, they will not ask you to how to measure it, but they will ask you what is consumer price index and how it is constructed. It is a question which can be tested on exams for sure. Then we move on to the next part of the content we want to discuss. Main uses of CPI. Why CPI is needed actually? A macroeconomic indicator of price inflation in an economy. It's a way of understanding how much inflation has happened. When I compare my food prices from last year to this year, maybe if I take a chicken, 1 kilogram of chicken's price, how much it has increased, CPI is very helpful. A price deflated to deflate value of wages and incomes by impact of price inflation. So you can actually reduce the level of prices in the economy by seeing what is the CPI's range, and if it is a lower range, you can deflate your prices. Deflation means you can reduce your price levels in the economy when the government considers it is necessary to decrease the price level what they charge towards the consumers. To index link income payments, so their purchasing power increases at the same rate as inflation. So what is to index linked income payments? So their purchasing power increases at the same rate as inflation. So if they can connect the income of the consumer, and with the connecting, they can consider how much is the purchasing power of the consumer. They can set the inflation rate based on that. Now, what is this purchasing power? If you go to a shop to buy an item with $100, how much you can buy with one basket of goods is what we mean, what we say as purchasing power. Purchasing power, or we can say as purchasing power parity. How much money you can spend on to buy a particular product is known as purchasing power. So when inflation is increasing in a country, purchasing power will decrease in that particular country. So that's one of the main uses of CPI. So then we move on. One is you can set the inflation price, you can deflate the price, or else you can connect your income with the rate of inflation in a country. Inflation, general and sustained increase in the level of prices of goods and services in an economy over a period of time. So if your price levels are increasing day by day, and if you purchase a product, maybe for now I'll take this power bank as an example. I took this power bank for 1,000 rupees in Sri Lanka. Means if that price has gone to 2,000 rupees next year, the next year, very next year, 3,000 rupees. If it moves on increasing in price, we say it as inflation. Then it says that general demand pull inflation caused by total demand rising faster than total output, causing market prices to rise. Now you need to understand what is demand pull inflation and how a demand pull inflation will looks like. Boom, guys. So you'll be having a good idea on what you are learning. So when it comes to demand pull inflation, you are seeing a chart here. Demand pull inflation will looks like this, guys. It is having, your aggregate demand is increasing. Why your aggregate demand is increasing? Maybe you wanted that you have high price, you have high income. If you were earning $1,000 per month, and all of a sudden you earn $10,000 per month, you were eating bread until yesterday. Now you will not eat bread, you will eat pizza. Why is that? Because you have enough income now to spend. So when you increase the level of income, not only for you, the whole country is experiencing income increment, then aggregate demand of the economy will increase and it will shift to the right. So when if it is shifting to the right, you know what would happen? Supply being constant, but the suppliers will try, they can't supply more because the demand is increasing. They will increase the level of prices. You see, P to P1, it will increase here, and quantity will increase from this point to this point. This they are taken real GDP is the actual amount of goods will be increased. Real GDP means if as I came to this term, I will explain you nominal GDP and real GDP. There's an actual difference between nominal GDP and real GDP. Real GDP means it is with inflation, nominal GDP without inflation. So you need to know the difference between when you are learning the GDPs, real GDP and nominal GDP. Real means inflation GDP, nominal means without inflation GDP. So when I take this chart, actually a demand pull inflation occurs when people's income increases or when the products prices goes down. One of these things, not the product price goes down. I'm sorry, that is cost push inflation. Sorry, demand pull inflation speaks about how aggregate demand increases when the price level of consumers are increasing. When people have enough income, they will spend more on the product what they need to buy. Then moving on to the content, we want to speak. Yeah. Cost push inflation, cost of production increases, so firms try to pass cost to consumers through high price. Now, what is cost push inflation? If the product cost of production price goes up, if imports, yeah. So cost of production increases, so firms try to pass cost to consumers. So if imports are increasing, if the raw materials prices are increasing, they can't do anything. Rather than passing the cost to consumers, they increase the level of prices. When they increase the level of prices, what could happen to the charts? Let me explain through chart. Now just have a look on that. So I'm gonna take you guys to a chart, so you will be able to have an idea about what's cost push inflation. You see here, the price of the product is increasing. They can't actually produce more. So what they will do, they will limit in producing. Actually, they can't produce more because the cost is gone very high. So they'll reduce the level of production. You see the production, they will reduce the level of production. Because they reduce the level of production, they will charge a higher price, but consumers are not willing to pay at the price they have paid. If they are increase the level of prices, consumers will be very reluctant to pay the price what they have asking. So reduction in demand will happen, reduction in supply will happen, price will go up when it comes to cost push inflation. So giving a exact term what you need to know when it comes to inflation. Then we have imported inflation results from rising result from rising prices of goods and services imported overseas can occur due to increasing cost of overseas production, fall in exchange rate of currency of importing country. So what is imported inflation? When you are bringing the product from a different country, that country which is supplying you the product, they are charging a higher price on the product than earlier. Then of course you can't buy this product at the same price which you paid. Then of course you will go through imported inflation. Then what's hyperinflation? Extremely high rates of inflation result in money failing to be good to be a good or store value. So hyperinflation means you can't set the inflation at a certain rate. It will go very high. You can't control. Maybe today's 10 rupees. Product will be tomorrow 100 rupees. You will never expect a bread went from 10 to 100 is something unexpected. That type of inflation we say as hyperinflation, uncontrollable inflation. Personal and economic consequences of inflation. Inflation reduces the purchasing power of money. People can't buy the same product what they bought years back. Inflation reduces the real value of saving as they save money 10,000 10 years back. If they take the same 10,000 after 10 years, the value is not going to be the same. Inflation reduces the real value of loans. If inflation, if the government has given, if banks has given some loans 5 lakh and they took an interest of 50,000, maybe the value of 550,000 maybe now 200,000 because the inflation has gone up. So a person who is taking the money from bank loans, if there's inflation by that time, for him is paying like 200,000 value and he's settling off the 550,000, but the banks are going through a hard time on that. Inflation boosts tax revenue as their percentage of price. So when prices are increasing, taxes revenues also increases, so government will enjoy. Inflation increase government spending as it will also have to pay more for goods services it buys. So consumers also will need some goods. So whenever they construct a capital road infrastructure, the government should spend on that particular asset. So government's expense will increase. Inflation reduces companies' profit. Actually, how come inflation can reduce the company's profit? If inflation, if inflation increases the level of prices, the products raw material prices will go up, and that will reduce the level of prices the company is having. Especially if it is caused by rising cost or reduction in demand. So, what is inflation reduces cost compared to, especially if it is caused by rising cost or reduction in demand. So people doesn't want that product anymore, or if the cost of that production is increasing, then of course company's profit will decrease. Inflation causes unemployment. As prices rise, demand will fall. Firms sell less, make less profit, cut production, and size of labor to reduce cost. So when unemployment increases, people when prices of the product increases, people can't sell that product towards customers, and they make less profit. So they will hold all the employees whom they were employing. So then we move on to next part, deflation. What is deflation? Let's see what's deflation. Now we went through inflation, a decrease in general price level of goods and services, and occurs when the inflation rate falls below 0%. So which means you are buying a certain good, maybe you bought it for 60 rupees earlier, now you want to spend 54 rupees, 50 rupees or 40 rupees, you are going to buy it very cheaper. That's a good thing for a country. Spending stops to wait until prices to fall further. So people will think that still the price will fall, like gold prices can go down. If gold prices go down, they will hold their money, they will not buy gold thinking that the gold prices will go down, but actually if it doesn't happen, it becomes a problem. Firms start making less revenue. As their firms are getting lower revenue, the firms will start producing less. So firms start producing less as less is demanded. Employers begin to hire fewer workers redundant. Why is that? Redundant means they stop the employees. They feel that the money that they need to earn is very less and they don't get that money, but they really want to earn. So they will stop the employees and their profits are very less. No point in keeping it. Cause economy to eventually go bust. Bust means when people are not producing at all any products because the deflation has reduced the level of prices entirely, but the suppliers are not ready, willing to not ready and willing to supply the product, and of course the country will go through a economic decline or slump phase. Consequences: economy fall into recession, firms sell fewer goods, services and lose profits, firms reduce workforce leading to unemployment, household income falls, debts rise causing bankruptcy. So how come household income falls? When you don't earn a big income, and when prices have gone down, you will not also earn a big income. So you cannot pay the money on time. Then this will increase the level of bankruptcy. making you as a bad debt. Demand, output, and demand for labor continue to fall because demand is not requested now. It's very cheap. People will not buy that, and demand for labor continue to fall. Labors will be, labor rates will be falling down on the entire economy because people are not getting job opportunities. Then we move on to next indicator, employment and unemployment indicators. Very important part on your syllabus again. Indicator, you have labor force participation. Let's see what is happening on the recent trend. When it comes to labor force, rising as world population has grown. Participation rate means the number of people working under working population, working age. Now, normally in our country, the working age is 14, but in UK it's 16 to 65, the working age population. So labor force as a part of a proportion of total working population of working age. So how many people are actually participating in workforce or working population is what we say participation rate. Rising in many countries, especially among female, as it is now socially acceptable. Poverty and rising living cost in developing countries has forced many women to work. So because of problems on different countries, people today, like the man and woman, both are working to ensure that problems should be solved as soon as possible. Then we move on to the third part, employment by industry. Number of people employed in different industrial sectors. So what is employment by industry? Employment by industry means okay, employment by industry means how many people are employed in different industries is what they are saying. Employment in sales has been growing while employment in agriculture and other private sector industries has fallen. As people are getting a high income on service sectors, people are moving on to service sectors rather than they are living in, rather than they are settling down in, what to say, industrial, rather than they are settling down in primary as well as secondary sector. Employment status, number of full-timers, part-timers or with temporary contracts. So how much people are working in full-time, part-time and small contracts like temporary contracts. Most employers work full-time, part-time employees have grown rapidly, especially among female employees. Very straightforward. Now we are speaking about what is actually happening on the recent trend. There might be a question, what is the, discuss the recent trends on unemployment, employment opportunities. So you can speak about all this point we spoke now. Then unemployment, number of people registered as being without work tends to rise during economic recession. Almost half the unemployed are young, unskilled workers. So many students they think that once they get educated, they can get a good job and they can get a good pay. Actually, not like that. You need to know basic skills to get a good job. Like you need to have Microsoft Excel knowledge. You need to have some sort of computer knowledge on what you're doing. Your accuracy in typing speed should be high. Then only you will get a good job in the market. Unemployment rate, unemployment as proportion of labor force. So how much people are not actually working when it comes to unemployment rate. Relatively stable in the recent years, but did increase in 2018 during a global financial crisis. When it comes to unemployment, you need to know how many people are working in a country. So many people doesn't know this calculation. I'm going to use the calculation. So unemployed people divide by labor force into 100. So what is unemployed people? The number of people who are not working. Labor force will take unemployed plus employed. So that's how you construct a labor force. Unemployed plus employed. So unemployed people divided by labor force in brackets. You can write unemployed plus employed into 100. So I can write it down here for your knowledge. It's unemployed force plus employed, or only we say it as labor force. All both should work, but actually only employed people are taken on. You can't take only employed people under labor force because both of them are looking for a job, and unfortunately, employed people are part of labor force employed part. Then we move on to the point we want to discuss. There are a few types of unemployment you need to know very importantly: cyclical unemployment, structural unemployment, frictional unemployment, and seasonal unemployment. What is cyclical unemployment? Occurs during recession due to falling consumer demand and incomes. Firms reduce output and lay off workers. So cyclical unemployment, it is happening only when it comes to a season. Yeah, give me a second. No, give me a second, guys. Okay, so this happens occurs during recession due to falling consumer demand. When people no longer want your product, we say the cyclical unemployment. They feel like today newspaper is a part of cyclical unemployment. People doesn't want to read newspapers when they can read blogs, when they can get everything from CNN, BCC on online. They don't want to read the blogs. So cyclical unemployment occurs when the product is no longer needed by the people. So layoff workers means they're sending employees from the work. So that it becomes an employment part. Structural unemployment is the way to say if the industry is changing into a different industry, maybe from labor force industry, labor intensive technique to capital intensive technique, maybe labors to machines. If they move on, when they make a change, people cannot adapt with the actual change, so they will be sent off from the work. Caused by changes in industrial structure of an economy, entire industries close due to permanent fall in demand for their goods and services. Now, as I said, either like cycling and unemployment, demand for the product is not there. Entire industry is falling down because the whole industry has moved into a different structure. Now, Nokia have went through this type of structural unemployment. When the entire industry changed into smartphones, Nokia was still using button phones, so they shut down many areas on the industry under structural unemployment. Frictional unemployment refers to short-lived unemployment moving to different job. So people who are looking for another job or people who are searching on another job, all are falling under frictional unemployment. Seasonal unemployment speaks about occurs because consumers' demand for goods services changes with season. Example: no job for sky instructor when there is no ice. So you can easily okay, also say seasonal unemployment happens even for an ice cream vendor. Ice cream vendor can sell at a sunny time, but he can't sell at a rainy day. So then, of course, it becomes a seasonal unemployment. An actor acts only for a particular season, and after that entire time he doesn't act. So that is also seasonal unemployment. Even if he can act, he doesn't act because due to seasonal unemployment. When directors needed him, he will act, and when directors doesn't need him, he will not act. So that's what we say seasonal unemployment. So I have given you four type of unemployment, divisional base, cyclical, structural, frictional, seasonal. So revise it whenever you want, so it will be helpful for you. Then we move on to the next part of the consequence of unemployment. What would happen if there's unemployment in a country in a personal way and also in an economical way? So we're going to see in both ways. If you have unemployment, loss of income, reduce ability to buy goods and services. Now you can't buy enough goods and services to your families because you are unemployed. Unemployed people, these skill if long out for work, if they don't work for a long period of time, their working talents, their working capacity all will go down. Unemployed people may become depressed and ill as they couldn't earn enough. They will go through a depression. Strain on family relationship and health services. So they will depend on they will depend on a family. They will put the pressure on their family relationship, and they will always have problems in home, and health also will not be that great. Economical unemployment is the waste of human resource. The country is not using them properly, so GDP will not increase, so the country will go through economic recession. Fewer goods and services produced, that's also not good because a lot of resources are needed to the country. Total output and income in economy is lower, so that will become less competitiveness of your country when compared to other. Government tax revenue also lower because people are not having job, they will not pay less tax. People in work may have to pay more taxes. So people in work may have to pay more taxes means people will be able to send a lot of like people whoever in jobs they will pay a higher tax, so that will also be a put a pressure on the people who already there. Government spending on welfare may rise when these people unemployed go on a strike or they are going on like riots or something. The police defense should be highly saved, so that will increase the level of cost to the government. Then we move on to the last three contents of this part. We have output. What is GDP? Gross domestic product, the main measure of total value of all goods and services produced in a given period of time. An increase in prices will increase nominal GDP, but this is measured in current dollars, thus includes inflation. So they want to get the real actual amount of actual amount of change in the money value in real GDP. So when you are calculating GDP, real GDP, take nominal GDP divide by the CPI index. They will give these rates in exams, so you don't want to worry, but you need to know this formula into 100. If you are getting the real GDP per capita for one person, how much the country is producing real GDP? Real GDP divided by number of population. What is real GDP? As I said, it is the number of products the country produces with inflation. Nominal GDP, it is the products the country produces without inflation. So number of population is very important because if you are getting real GDP per capita, take the real GDP divided by the number of population. So one person, how much the country is producing can be calculated. If economy has an extremely rich person and everyone else is poor, it brings up the real GDP per capita to find out actually how much money has been distributed to the poor people. Then we move on to the economic growth is where there is an increase in real output over time. increase GDP and national income important as it increases the standard of living. So economic growth is where the country's output is increasing more than it was. It can happen for many reasons: technological advancement, skills of employees, advancement in training, or you can also say subsidies given by the government, less reduction, less taxes on the exports, motivating the people to do domestic trade, some higher entrepreneurs setting up, low inflation rate. All this will be a reason of economic growth, and economic growth will shift the PPC curve to the right side. You can see this in my Chrome. So let me show economic growth. Uh, Economic growth PPC will look like this. It can be, I can take any type of curves. Yeah. So here you might see they are in this point, efficiency point, and they will move to a new aspect, and they are trying to increase their production what they have done. That's what we say economic growth. And as I given you certain reason, those are all reasons which you need to learn when it comes to economic growth. Then when it comes to economic recession, you need to learn few things. Like the country is falling down for a certain period of time, but not for a long time, maybe 6 months of time. A significant decline in economic activity spread across the country, lasting more than a few months, normally visible in real GDP growth, real personal income, employment, industrial production, wholesale retail sales. Economic recession can happen for a small period of time due to inflation stability, country's problems, some sort of unemployment rates, some sort of firms getting closed, investments getting declined. But this is not for a prolonged period. If it happens for a prolonged period, economic recession will change into economic decline. So if it is more than 1 year, the economy is falling down. We say as economic decline. Economic recession also presented under PPC graph. Let me show this economic recession graph for you to have an understanding. Okay. So economic recession will have an inward shift to the PPC. You might see here there's an inward shift from here to inside. Is what we say economic recession. So economic decline is a shift to the right. Actually, as I said, if it is lasting for a long period of time, economic decline will fall down. You might see here how economic decline is presented. It is a shift to the right in PPC. So it's actually falling down in PPC. Okay, so you might see here. This is economic decline. Your productivity has fallen down completely, and you can't again restore into the point easily. So let's move on to the point we want to discuss. The last part of unemployment and employment areas. This is content number 6, which I taught you. This is economic indicators which we have learned. So now, HDI, what is Human Development Index? Most of the time, very much tested in your exams. What is HDI? I always see this question in every year papers. There's no paper which examiner sets without HDI. Used by United Nations to make comparison of human and economic development in different countries. HDI has 3 things. You need to remember these 3 things very completely, and this is very much tested on your paper. Standard of living measured by average incomes, being educated measured by adult literacy rate, living a long healthy life. So if it is a HDI indicator, it will consider standard of living, how much income a person is earning, how much people are being educated, and how much people live long life, healthy life, measured by life expectancy. So if they give adult literacy rate, average income, life expectancy, all these terms can be used instead of another way. For life expectancy, you can say healthy life. Literacy rate, you can say education. Incomes, you can say standard of living. So examiner can confuse you in any terms in exam. So don't get confused, guys. HDR is a measure of these 3 things. By seeing these 3 things, they can understand if these 3 things are there, the country will produce a lot of GDP normally. Then comparison to the country which doesn't have HDR. Single index with a value between 0 to 1. If it is greater than 0.8, it's a good thing. When it comes to HDR, they will give 1.5, 1.6, and they might ask, what is it a good HDR country? Then of course you can see if it is more than 0.8, it's a good country. If it is less than 0.5, it's a low human development country. If it is in between 0.5 and 8, somewhat the country is in a better position. So I have explained you the content number 6. Let me teach you the content number 5 in the next video.